So there are 6 pattern pieces. This is the base, and you only need 1 piece of that. This is the pocket that goes around the outside, and you need 2 parts. You need an inner and an outer. So I've got 2 pieces of fabric there. Then you need the actual body of the holder, and you only need 1 piece to that. And then you need the piece that goes up the side, and you need 2 parts to that. And what I've done is I have put iron-on violin interfacing on that one. This one, the pocket doesn't need iron-on interfacing, but you will need some elastic that goes around the top to draw it in. And then the circular one, the semicircular one, that's what it looks like. That one, same thing, I've put some interfacing on that. But my experience on this one, I found that I needed something really stiff to go inside it to make it stand upright. So what I've done is, on this one, I've used some very heavy iron-on interfacing. If I can show you inside, that is very heavy. It's almost like a cardboard iron-on interfacing, but I think I'm still going to need something in the middle. I ended up putting a piece of copper in the middle, a strip of the art and craft copper, just simply because I had some. But I think a nice stiff piece of cardboard sliding up from the bottom will hold it all in place and keep it more upright, because it has a tendency to flop over. So that's what I would suggest. I've got this iron-on, heavy iron-on interfacing first, but then I will add something in the middle. So first of all, we're going to take this piece, put it right sides together, that's the right side, and I'm going to do a running stitch all the way along the top. Then once I've done that, I'm going to snip little triangles out of it, because when it turns around, it's got to compensate for the bend. So here I'm cutting little triangles out here like that. And then turn it the other way around and press. I'm going to trim round there to make it all even. So the elastic I need is, it has to be 30 to 35. Basically, you want a bit of space. So I've stitched along there, and I've also done a little row up there. You don't have to do that, but I've done it because it'll make it lie better. Then you need a small safety pin, elastic through there, and start feeding it through that gap. It's not going to be easy, but you will get to the end. And then you take this right sides together, and you're going to sew down there, along there, and back down to there. So you're going to have this from here to here open. So that's your next stage. And then you need to trim close to the edge. And then you turn it the right way round. Now this isn't going to be easy, because you've got stiff, very stiff interfacing on. It might be easy on this end, but it might not be as easy on the other end. Let's see how we go. it might be easier to unpick that. Just so you can get that point through. And the same with that one. Let's pull that back so we can get the point through, and then we can push that back in afterwards. Feel it going there a lot better. You may have to manipulate it a bit with your hands like that and get it into the right position. Right, so then you have it like this and like that, and you need to press it down. Hold it in place like that, just for the moment. Okay, like that. Then you take this one and you take this and you lay that onto there and clip it in place. And do the same at the other end. That there, clip that in place and that in place, and then you want this to go along there from about here going along towards the top. Move that one there. And then bring this across to here. But what I suggest you do first is, if you stitch this first very close to the edge, and then you haven't got that flapping about. So I've sewn that down there, and that's now, I've got less to worry about there. Then I'm going to bring that across to there and join that together, match it exactly together, and then what you've got to do is bend that in there, because you don't want to be catching it, and you clip all that together like that. Make sure you've got that well inside and away from the seam, because you don't want to be sewing it in. And then what you're going to do is you're going to sew down there about 1 centimetre in. So I've sewn along there, but I've gone quite close to the edge here because I didn't want to catch that point in. I'll be able to feel with my hands to see if it's not in there. No, it's not. That should be fine. If the worst comes to worst, you may have to unpick it once you've turned it the right way. Now here, you need to make sure that this is pinned all the way around. You need to pin this all the way around, and you're going to be putting the foot of the fabric there, but what you've got to be careful of is that you don't catch that in. So if needs be, turn that back and just pin it back for the moment while you're doing your foot. So then you get your foot, and your best thing to do is to half it and put a pin there and a pin directly opposite, which is there. Bring those two together, and then you know that that and that is exactly quartered, so put a pin there and there. And here you know that that is directly opposite, so I've got the pin more or less in the right position there. And then we need to bring those two together, the two opposites together. That's more or less in the right position there, but I need to move this one to a little bit further in there. So that means that that one, the back seam and that one are all in the quarters. So now I'm going to match that to there. You may have to just go like that and do it that way. It's going to be quite difficult to sew over that bit. This one matched to here. Take that out. And what you're going to do is leave a full quarter open. And I would suggest that you leave the quarter there that's at the opposite side to the seam. So that to there. I've got a bumblebee buzzing around the back. It's suddenly appeared, and it's evening. I don't know what it's doing there, but so basically what you're going to do is you're going to sew all the way around there and there. I'm going to have to try and catch that bumblebee. All the way around there, carrying on to there, but stop here, forward and back there, right the way around, forward and back there. So you've got a space there, and that's where you're going to be putting your you're going to turn it inside out, and then you're going to be putting your filler in. Thought I'd let you see that I found a use for these Ziploc type bags. I've caught the beautiful bumblebee, and I'm going to let it out because you're not supposed to be causing them any harm. So that's going outside. So I've sewn this all the way around except for that little piece there, which I'm going to leave. I'm going to pin that to there so that it doesn't go and move. But first of all, we're going to cut, same as we did before, cut little triangles all the way around. Turn it inside, back round the other way. This is not going to be easy again because you've got that stiff collar bit in. If you can get your hand in, all the better, because that will help you be able to pull it through a bit. You're going to turn it the right way like that. Bring it all through. So this is like this. And what you're going to do with that final quarter is you're going to have to hand stitch that bit yourself in a minute. But what you can do to make life easier, if you want to, is machine stitch along there first, so that that's joined to that, and then you just got the top part to do it. So I might do just hand sew, so I might just machine stitch that, machine stitch along there to hold that in the right position. So I've machine stitched this to the base, but not to the top column part. And what's going to happen is once I've filled it, then this will come over the top, and you won't see where you've hand sewn the edge. I'll take that off there because that's now in the right position. Do you see how that's a bit floppy? That's the only downside to it, that even though it's stiff, it is a little bit floppy. I think once I give that a press, it won't be so bad. So I'm going to move that back there, and now this is the hardest part. The hardest part is not the making of it. The hardest part is filling it, and finding something that you want to fill it with. Now I'll just get that pushed up right with my hemostats, because you need that point there as well, because it's going to have 2 points there. I've got 2 points. So what you need is a filler. You need a filler to pack up at the top, but then you need some weight. And the weight can be anything that's heavy. It can be a big pebble, it can be a bag of rice, it can be any lentils or anything that you've got, but you need to put them in a polythene bag because that's going to go at the bottom. If you really haven't got anything, you can get some soil. Put some soil into a dish and then put that dish into the oven, and the soil will, if you put it in the oven, you're basically killing any germs that's in the soil. Once you've let it cool, you put it into a polythene bag, then that can go into the bottom of here. I have some, what have I got? I think I've got some lentils. I'll go and check. So I've got a bag, a freezer bag, I've got a bag of lentils, and then I've also got this. So what I'm going to do is, this is some that's actually been on a roll, but I'm going to break it all up so it goes. I've got a cat as well. Oh, here she comes. Here's trouble. Yes, hello. What are you after? Hey? What are you after? Are you after kisses and cuddles? So then I'm going to pack this into the top first. Get it right in. You've got to make it as tight as you can. You don't want it soft. You want it as tightly packed as you can. Hello. Hello. And the nice thing about being able to get your hand in is you can pack it up as much as you can. Can you get your tail out of the way? Thank you. Really pack it in as tightly as possible, because the more you pack it in, the more this is going to stand upright. So let's put some more of that in. Right. So I've still got a lot of room in the bottom there. And what I'm going to do is, I'm now going to take my lentils and I'm going to cut some off there and put that into a bag, into a polythene bag. One's going to open it and the other way is going to close it. So is that opened or is it closed? That would have opened. And I'm going to pour some of these lentils into here. So the one thing with it being in a polythene bag, it shouldn't be, I think I'll put the whole lot in, just because I don't have a use for these lentils at the moment. So that, and that's going to add a bit of weight. So close it. Now I may need to squeeze the air out of it a bit. Let's get that open a bit first. Right, squeeze the air out. Okay, and then close it. That's it. And then that goes into there, into the bottom of there. It's not going to be easy. If you can, try and get the seam at the top so that it's not going to spill out. Okay, so, and then if you need to, and I might just put some in, pack some of this in as well, because you may have some areas that need to be padded out some more. I might pack some at the bottom there. And then that is going to be sewn to that. So what you have to do is, you will need to bring it as close as you can, like so. Pick that needle up like that and do the same there. Pick the needle up there, pick it up there, like so. Oh. And then I'm going to hand sew along there. So I've hand sewn the gap, and now I'm going to pull that elastic over the top like that, and he's got his little knickers on, as you would kind of say, and that will give that a bit of a press to make it stiff again. And while I'm waiting for the iron to warm up, I'm just going to mould that round a bit more, just to make sure that it's all lying, because that has to be fairly flat on the bottom. It has to be fairly flat. And you can see that that nicely fits around there, and you've got this lovely stiff neck up here. Again, it tends to have a tendency to go to one side. What you can do is you could do two of these and have them so that one point's one way and one point's the other way, so you know they're going out like that. You can do it. There's a lot of permutations you can do with this. It's taken a short amount of time to do this. So now I'm going to give it a blast of steam, and the same here. Good blast of steam all the way up, and do it again on the other side. And so there you have your, what's it called? Schnittenliebe. A Schnittenliebe. And what you can do with that is, let me show you. So here's my Schnittenliebe, and I have put clips down there. You can put all your clips down there. You can put anything you like. I've got a bone folder, I've got my tape measure, stitch unpicker, you could put little scissors in there, you could put whatever you like in there, something that you have handy by the side of your sewing machine. And then you've got, I put my some safety pins there. I could put needles and threads there, and possibly even pins. If I want to put pins in, can take pins there as well. So I think that is a lovely idea, a Schnittenliebe. And look at that, you can just sit your tape measure on top there as well. And this is the other one. This is the one I made from the first attempt. A bit baggy on there because I didn't put an elastic in, or I think I put elastic in, but it wasn't very elasticated. But that is actually, looks taller than that one. I think I made that taller, purposely made it taller. So that is your Schnittenliebe.